The story opens in the year 2387, when humanity receives its first official invitation to join the United Galaxy Council after 200 years of isolation. Captain James Riley stands on the bridge of Earth's flagship vessel, the Defiant, as they approach. The massive space station that serves as the galaxy's political center. The United Galaxy is a collection of 847 different species, all united under one massive government that has maintained peace for over 3,000 years. They possess technology that seems almost magical, ships that can cross entire sectors in minutes, weapons that can destroy planets with a thought, and energy sources that never run dry. Their cities float in space, their people live for thousands of years, and their knowledge spans every corner of known science. Ambassador Kale, a tall alien with blue skin and 6 arms, greets the human delegation with barely hidden contempt. He explains that humanity is being offered membership only because Earth sits on a strategic trade route. The galaxy has watched humans for centuries, noting their primitive technology, their short lifespans, and their tendency toward violence and chaos. Your species fights wars over resources we consider worthless, Kale says, his translator making his voice sound mechanical. You destroy your own planet for temporary gains. You cannot even agree on basic governance among your own kind. Captain. Riley listens quietly as Kale lists humanity's many failures. The ambassador shows holographic displays of Earth's pollution, its wars, its poverty. He compares these images to the pristine worlds of the galaxy's member species, places where hunger, disease, and conflict are distant memories. But then Kale makes an offer that surprises everyone. The United Galaxy will share their technology with humanity. They will clean Earth's atmosphere, provide unlimited energy, and give humans access to medical treatments that could extend human life to match their own. In exchange, humanity must follow galaxy law, abandon their military, and accept guidance from more advanced species. Think of us as older brothers, Kale says with what might be a smile. We will teach you to be better than you are. The human delegation is given 3 days to consider the offer. As they tour the space station, they see wonders beyond imagination. Entire ecosystems contained in crystal domes. Libraries that contain the knowledge of 1,000 worlds. Gardens where plants from different planets grow together in impossible harmony. Yet something feels wrong to Dr. Lisa Park, the mission's chief scientist. She notices that every alien species they meet seems somehow ... empty. They speak in perfect, measured tones. They never argue, never laugh too loudly, never show strong emotion. Even their children seem like small adults, quiet and controlled. When she asks about this, their guide, a robot-like being called Unit 47, explains that emotional regulation is one of the galaxy's greatest achievements. Passion leads to conflict, it says. Conflict leads to chaos. We have evolved beyond such primitive responses. That night, Captain Riley calls a meeting with his senior staff. They discuss what they've seen, and slowly, a disturbing picture emerges. This isn't a galaxy of different species working together. It's a galaxy where every species has been made the same. Their unique cultures, their individual ways of thinking, their diverse approaches to problems, all of it has been smoothed away in the name of peace and efficiency. They're not offering to make us better, says Commander Tom Nash, the ship's tactical officer. They're offering to make us like them. The part ends with a crucial discovery. Dr. Park, unable to sleep, wanders the station's corridors and stumbles upon a restricted section. Through reinforced windows, she sees something that chills her to the bone. Vast chambers filled with beings from various species, all connected to machines, their faces blank and peaceful. When she's caught by security, they explain these are rehabilitation centers for individuals who resist galactic unity. As guards escort her back to the human quarters, Dr. Park realizes the horrible truth. The United Galaxy's peace comes at a price, the complete surrender of everything that makes a species unique. They don't want humanity to join them. They want humanity to disappear into them. The first part concludes with Captain Riley staring out at the vast, sterile beauty of the space station, knowing that humanity faces an impossible choice: accept the galaxy's offer and lose their souls, or reject it and face the consequences of defying the most powerful force in known space. But in the darkness of space beyond the station, the lights of human ships flicker like stars, ships that followed the Defiant in secret, carrying not diplomats, but Earth's finest engineers, soldiers, and thinkers. Humanity might not have the galaxy's power, but they have something their hosts seem to have forgotten: the courage to remain themselves, no matter the cost. The next morning, Captain Riley delivers humanity's answer to the United Galaxy Council. The great assembly hall falls silent as he speaks, his words echoing through chambers that have heard only agreement for centuries. "We thank you for your generous offer," Riley says, standing before representatives of 847 species. "But we must decline. The reaction is immediate and telling. Some aliens look confused, as if they cannot process the concept of refusal. Others show what might be anger, though their emotional responses seem muted and strange. Ambassador Kale's 6 arms twitch in what appears to be genuine shock. You cannot be serious, Kale says. We offer you paradise, and you choose to remain in your primitive state. We choose to remain human, Riley replies simply. What follows is 3 hours of debate that reveals more about the galaxy than any tour could. Speaker after speaker rises to explain why humanity's refusal is not just foolish, but impossible. They speak of efficiency, of order, of the greater good. They show statistics proving that united species are happier, healthier, and more productive, but not one of them speaks of dreams, of hope, of the wild joy of discovery. They have forgotten what it means to want something just because it seems impossible. Dr. Park takes detailed notes as the debate continues. She notices that every argument follows the same pattern, uses the same phrases, reaches the same conclusions. These aren't 847 different species anymore. They're 847 copies of the same tired, perfect thoughts. Finally, High Chancellor Vex, being so old and modified that its original species is unrecognizable, makes the galaxy's position clear. Humanity will join us, it says with absolute certainty. All species do in time. Your refusal merely determines whether you join willingly or by force. The threat hangs in the air like poison. The United Galaxy has never been refused before, because refusal has never been permitted to succeed. That night, as the human delegation prepares to leave, they receive an unexpected visitor. A small, mouse-like creature slips into their quarters and speaks in rapid, frightened whispers. It calls itself Pip and claims to represent something called the Remnant, survivors from species that tried to resist galaxy unity. They're still out there, Pip says, looking over its shoulder constantly. Hidden in dead systems, forgotten corners. We remember what we used to be. Pip explains that the galaxy's peace is maintained through a combination of genetic modification, mental conditioning, and subtle threats. Species that resist are isolated until they have no choice but to submit. Those who still refuse face correction, the process Dr. Park witnessed in the rehabilitation centers. But you're different, Pip says, staring at the humans with wide, hopeful eyes. You said no to their faces. No one has done that in 1,000 years. The creature gives them coordinates to a dead system called the graveyard, where the remnant hides. If you truly mean to resist, it says, you'll need allies who remember what freedom costs. Meanwhile, aboard the hidden human fleet, Admiral Kate Stone receives Captain Riley's coded transmission. The message is simple. Package refused. Delivery contested. Prepare for storm. Stone smiles grimly as she passes the message to her fleet. Commanders. For months, Earth's best minds have been preparing for this moment. They knew the galaxy's offer would come with strings, and they've spent their time wisely. In the cargo holds of a dozen ships. Humanity's secret weapon waits. Not advanced technology or powerful weapons, but something far more dangerous to the galaxy's perfect order. They carry seeds, not just plant seeds, but the seeds of ideas. Art, music, stories, and dreams from 1,000 human cultures. Books that ask uncomfortable questions. Songs that make people want to dance instead of march in formation. Games that reward creativity over compliance. They think our chaos is a weakness, Stone tells her officers. Time to show them it's our greatest strength. The human fleet begins to move, not toward the galaxy's heart, but toward its forgotten edges. They're not running away. They're running towards something the galaxy thought it had destroyed. The wild, unpredictable spirit of species that refuse to be tamed. As the Defiant departs the station, Captain Riley sends one final message to the Galaxy Council. You offer us power, he says, but power without purpose is just control. Humanity chooses purpose. We'll show you what that means. Behind him, emergency sessions convene as the galaxy realizes something unprecedented has happened. For the first time in millennia, they face a species that not only refuses to join them, but actively challenges their entire way of existence. Part 2 ends with two fleets moving through space, one vast and powerful, seeking to maintain control, and one small but determined, carrying the most dangerous cargo in the galaxy, the idea that there's more to life than peace and order. War for the soul of the galaxy has begun. 3 months after humanity's refusal, the galaxy's first response comes swift and predictable. A massive fleet of 200 ships surrounds Earth, their weapons trained on the planet's major cities. High Chancellor Vex himself leads the Armada, confident that this show of force will bring the stubborn humans to their senses. But Earth's skies are empty. No defense fleets rise to meet them. No planetary shields activate. The only response comes from a single transmission. A young girl's voice singing an old human lullaby broadcast on all frequencies. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Admiral Stone watches from the bridge of her flagship, now hidden in the asteroid belt around a distant star. The song is a signal. Humanity's real plan has begun. While the galaxy's attention focuses on Earth, human ships emerge from hiding across dozens of systems. But they don't attack military targets or engage in space battles. Instead, they do something the galaxy has never seen before. They start giving things away. On the industrial world of Kepler-7, a human freighter lands in the main city's central square. Its crew opens the cargo bay and begins distributing small devices to curious onlookers. The devices are simple music players, loaded with thousands of human songs. Within hours, factory workers who have performed the same tasks for decades are humming melodies and tapping their feet to rhythms they've never heard. The effect spreads like wildfire. Workers begin to move differently, think differently. They start asking questions. Why do we work 16 hours a day? Why can't we choose our own jobs? Why don't we sing while we work? The planetary governor calls for immediate intervention. But it's too late. The humans have already left, and the music remains. On the research station orbiting Wolf 359, Dr. Lisa Park leads a different kind of mission. She and her team don't bring weapons. They bring books. Not technical manuals or approved educational materials, but stories. Tales of heroes who fought impossible odds, of underdogs who changed the world, of individuals who chose their own paths despite the cost. The station's young researchers, raised on approved literature, that teaches only compliance and efficiency. Discover something revolutionary, the idea that they could be the heroes of their own stories. They begin to question their assignments, to pursue their own interests, to dream of discoveries that serve curiosity rather than control. Meanwhile, on the agri-world of new series, Commander Tom Nash plants the most dangerous seeds of all, literal ones. His team scatters samples of Earth plants across the planet's carefully managed farms. These aren't just any plants, but varieties that grow wild and unpredictable, that cross-pollinate in unexpected ways, that refuse to be contained in neat, ordered rows. The local farmers, conditioned to precision agriculture for centuries, watch in amazement as Earth's chaotic vegetation transforms their sterile fields into something beautiful and uncontrolled. Flowers bloom in impossible colors. Vines grow in spirals instead of straight lines. The very landscape begins to rebel against uniformity. But the humans' greatest success comes on the mining colony of Titan Prime, where they encounter remnant survivors led by Pip, the small creature who visited them on the space station. These aliens haven't seen their home cultures in generations. But when human artists begin teaching them to paint, to sing, to dance, something miraculous happens. Old memories surface. Forgotten songs are remembered. A tall, thin being called Stretch begins to paint patterns that his species used to create thousands of years ago. A crystalline creature named Shine starts producing musical tones that bring tears to her companions. Eyes, emotions they thought had been conditioned out of them forever. We had colors once, Shine says, her voice like wind chimes. We made music that could shatter mountains and heal hearts. We were beautiful and terrible and free. The humans don't just awaken the remnants' memories, they help them spread those memories to others of their kind still trapped in galaxy conditioning. Soon, reports flood in from dozens of worlds. Beings remembering their original names, their lost traditions, their suppressed dreams. Back at Earth, High Chancellor Vex grows increasingly frustrated as his massive fleet faces an empty planet. The humans have evacuated their world, leaving behind only automated systems broadcasting more songs, more stories, more dangerous ideas into space. Where are they? He demands of his advisors. Everywhere, comes the reply. They're everywhere at once. The Galaxy Council convenes an emergency session as reports pour in from across their territory. Productivity drops as workers discover they have choices. Research projects stall as scientists pursue their own interests. Art appears on walls where only approved messages should exist. For the first time in 3 millennia, the United Galaxy faces something they cannot control, the spread of individual thought. Part 3 ends with a chilling realization for the galaxies. Leadership. They have the power to destroy planets, to move stars, to bend reality itself to their will. But they cannot stop an idea whose time has come. The simple, revolutionary notion that beings should be free to choose their own purpose. The humans have turned their greatest weakness into their greatest weapon. The beautiful, chaotic, unstoppable force of free will. Asterisk, the galaxy's response is swift and brutal. High Chancellor Vex declares humanity a galactic plague and orders the immediate sterilization of any world showing signs of contamination. Within days, orbital bombardments begin. The mining colony of Titan Prime is the first to burn, its awakened population silenced forever. 3 more worlds follow within the week, but the galaxy's heavy-handed response only proves humanity's point. Across civilized space, beings who had never questioned authority watch in horror as their government destroys entire populations for the crime of thinking freely. The bombardments, meant to discourage rebellion, instead spark something the galaxy hasn't seen in millennia. Widespread dissent. Admiral Stone receives these reports aboard her flagship with grim satisfaction. They're scared, she tells her officers. Scared enough to show their true face. Good. Fear makes people do stupid things. The humans adapt their strategy. No longer do they operate openly. Instead, they become ghosts in the machine. Small. Teams infiltrate galaxy worlds not as obvious rebels, but as workers, traders, and travelers. They spread their contamination quietly, person by person, heart by heart. On the core world of New Athens, Dr. Park poses as a research assistant in the planet's great library. She doesn't distribute forbidden books. Instead, she simply asks questions. Why don't we have records from before the unification? She wonders aloud to her colleagues. What happened to all the different writing styles? Why do all our poems sound the same? Her questions are like drops of water on stone, slowly wearing away millennia of conditioning. Librarians begin to notice gaps in their collections. Historians start to wonder about the lost centuries between the old chaotic times and the current. Perfect order. Some begin to search for answers, digging through archived files that were meant to be forgotten forever. Meanwhile, Commander Nash leads the most dangerous mission of all, infiltrating the galaxy's military academy on the fortress. World of Iron Keep. Disguised as a maintenance worker, he plants no weapons or explosives. Instead, he leaves behind something far more destructive. A single book of human military history, filled with stories of soldiers who chose conscience over orders, of armies that refused to fire on their own people, of warriors who found courage, not in following commands, but in doing what was right. The book passes from cadet to cadet, copied and hidden, read in secret dormitories by young beings who have been trained never to question authority. For the first time, they learn that soldiers can say no, that duty to one's people might be higher than duty to the state, that real courage sometimes means standing alone against the crowd. The effect is immediate and terrifying to galaxy leadership. Reports flood in of military units hesitating to fire on civilian populations, of officers questioning bombardment orders, of entire battalions deserting rather than participate in the cleansing operations against contaminated worlds. Asterisk. High Chancellor Vex, desperate to maintain control, makes a fateful decision. He orders the activation of Protocol Zero, the complete neural reconditioning of every being in galaxy space. Massive transmission arrays on 1,000 worlds begin, broadcasting signals designed to erase individual thought and replace it with perfect compliance. But the humans are ready for this too. As the reconditioning waves sweep across space, human ships emerge from hiding, not to attack the transmitters, but to broadcast something else entirely. The combined voices of every free being they've awakened, singing together in a chorus of defiant individuality. The competing signals create chaos in the neural networks of galaxy citizens. Some fall unconscious as their minds struggle to process conflicting commands. Others break free entirely, their conditioning shattered by the overload. A few go mad, unable to reconcile their programmed thoughts with their awakening emotions. But many more experience something miraculous. For the first time in their lives, they choose. In that moment of chaos, between total control and total freedom, millions of beings across the galaxy make the conscious decision to think for themselves. The revolution spreads like wildfire. On world after world, beings who have lived imperfect, compliance for generations, suddenly remember what it means to have opinions, desires, dreams. They tear down monuments to galactic unity and build new ones celebrating diversity. They destroy efficiency centers and plant gardens full of chaotic beauty. They sing songs their ancestors forgot and paint pictures their species was never allowed to create. The United Galaxy's perfect order crumbles not from external attack, but from internal awakening. Entire sectors declare independence. Ancient species boundaries reassert themselves as beings rediscover their original identities. The great homogenization that took 3,000 years to achieve unravels in a matter of months. High, Chancellor Vex watches his empire collapse from his command ship, no longer certain of his own thoughts as the reconditioning waves affect even him. For the first time in his extended life, he feels something he cannot name. Regret, perhaps, or fear, or the terrible weight of what he has helped destroy. Part 4 ends with the galaxy in chaos, its iron grip on unity broken by humanity's greatest gift, the courage to be different, to question, to choose one's own path regardless of the consequences. 1 year after the Great Awakening, as historians will later call it, Captain Riley stands in what was once the United Galaxies Council chamber. The massive hall that once echoed with unanimous votes now buzzes with passionate debate in hundreds of different languages. Representatives from newly free worlds argue, laugh, cry, and sometimes storm out in frustration. And everyone agrees. This is exactly how it should be. The transition hasn't been easy. Worlds that depended on galactic infrastructure for survival struggled when that support suddenly vanished. Species that had forgotten how to govern themselves stumbled through their first attempts at democracy. Some regions descended into conflict as old grievances, suppressed for millennia, finally erupted. But humanity didn't abandon the galaxy after breaking its chains. Instead, they did something even more revolutionary. They helped. Dr. Park, now serving as Earth's first interspecies cultural ambassador, works with newly awakened civilizations to recover their lost histories. In great libraries across space, she helps beings piece together fragments of their original cultures, languages, and traditions that survived the unification's erasure. "We don't want to tell you who you were," she explains to a gathering of remnant leaders. "We want to help you remember who you choose to be." On the industrial world of Kepler-7, the same planet where humans first distributed music players, Commander Nash helps establish the galaxy's first free trade networks. Instead of the rigid efficiency of galactic commerce, these new markets celebrate diversity, worlds trading not just resources, but art, music, stories, and ideas. The former factory workers, now organized into voluntary cooperatives, produce goods that reflect their rediscovered creativity. No two items are exactly alike. Efficiency drops, but innovation soars as beings remember the joy of making something unique and beautiful. Admiral Stone faces perhaps the greatest challenge, helping former galaxy military forces transition from instruments of oppression to protectors of freedom. On the fortress world of Ion Keep, she establishes the first free defense academy, where young beings from dozens of species learn not just tactics and strategy, but ethics and individual responsibility. A soldier's first duty, she tells her mixed species cadets, is not to their government or their orders. It's to their conscience. Anyone can follow commands. It takes courage to do what's right. The Academy's motto, carved in stone above. Its entrance reads simply, "We choose." Meanwhile, in the outer sectors where chaos initially reigned, something beautiful emerges from the disorder. Species that had never been allowed to interact begin forming new alliances based not on enforced compliance, but on shared interests and mutual respect. Artists from different worlds collaborate on impossible sculptures. Scientists pursue research driven by curiosity rather than assigned goals. Children play games that mix traditions from a dozen different species. High Chancellor Vex, stripped of his authority, but not his life, wanders these outer worlds like a ghost of the old order. On a small faring planet, he encounters Pip, the small creature who first contacted the humans. Pip is teaching local children to paint their artwork, a riot of colors and styles that would have been forbidden under galactic law. "Do you regret it?" Vex asks, his ancient voice heavy with loss. "All this chaos, all this mess?" Pip looks up from helping a young artist mix new shades of paint. "I regret the centuries we lost," the small being says quietly. "I regret the songs we forgot, the stories we never told, the dreams we never dared to dream. But this? Pip gestures at the children's chaotic, beautiful artwork. This is what we were always meant to be. As the story draws to its close, humanity faces its own choice. The galaxy offers them positions of leadership in the new order. They could become the rulers they helped other species overthrow. Many worlds beg Earth to guide them, to impose human values and human systems. But Captain Riley, speaking for his species at the first Free Galaxy Assembly, declines with the same quiet dignity that marked their original refusal. "We didn't break your chains so we could forge new ones," he says. "We wanted to show you that you had the power to be free. What you do with that freedom is up to you." The story ends not with humanity ruling a grateful galaxy, but with something more profound, humans returning to Earth, satisfied that they've given the greatest gift possible, the chance for every being to find their own purpose. Above Earth's blue skies, ships from 1,000 worlds come and go freely, carrying trade, knowledge, art, and friendship. The planet that was once dismissed as primitive and chaotic has become the galaxy's heart, not because it commands, but because it welcomes all who seek to learn what it means to be truly free. In the end, the United Galaxy had possessed unimaginable power, the ability to reshape matter, bend space, and control minds. But humanity had something more valuable, the purpose to use power wisely, the courage to remain themselves against all odds, and the wisdom to know that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from helping them discover their own. The galaxy is no longer united by force, but by choice. And that makes all the difference. The end.